my first thought on this is how sensitive is the IR and the camera that's capturing these gestures? I'm picturing Dottie and Jimmy on A League of Their Own, both of them doing different signs and having the computer be the picture. Like, what am I even doing?
Just like there's no crying in baseball, there's no gestures in conference rooms.
Yes, exactly.
Trademarked, right, Justin?
Hashtag.
Trademark that one too.
That's two. My first question is, they're doing an on-prem version. Would it be ShureCloud? Or is there going to be some other branding there? Hey, I'm not a marketing person. I'm just thinking ahead.
No.
Right? If they use ShureCloud, that's mine. They got to. That's two.
All right. Well, I'll give you one more story. See if you can trademark this one.
I mean, hey, somebody got to make that money.
Sure heads into the cloud. You might be gesturing in your next meeting. And where does NDI belong on your network? All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 684, recorded Friday, September 27th, 2024. Build a better idiot. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and information. My name is Tom Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. First and foremost, from Parts Unknown, Dawn Mead. Welcome, ma'am. Hey,
thanks for having me, as usual, Tim.
Absolutely. And two young men that are actually both in Austin that I didn't plan this way. Actually, I did, but that's a longer story. First and foremost, Justin Watts, our buddy from AMD. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Good. And a young man I got to meet, and he was on a panel at PSNI a number of months ago, Jason Haney from Q2. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much. First story actually comes to us. Well, we're using the one from our website, but good Lord, you can find it on any AV magazine or AV news website worth its salt. Shure announced this week ShureCloud, a quote-unquote cutting-edge cloud-based platform. This new system allows users to control and monitor Shure's Microflex ecosystem devices next to wireless mic systems, IntelliMix Room DSP software licenses, and more from a single user-friendly device interface. Designed with IT managers and AV integrators in mind, ShureCloud offers real-time remote access, enhanced security features, occupancy usage feedback, and streamlined device management. The platform promises to improve productivity and reduce downtime by providing actionable insights and instant alerts. The system will send out notifications of offline equipment, low batteries, or other issues, and is completely free to customers. The company is working with several ERPs to develop integration for a single quote-unquote pane of glass user experience. Dawn, we are going to start with you on this. Really simple. What are your initial thoughts on Shure getting into monitoring and remote maintenance game here?
I have a few. First and foremost is a combination of, well, it's about time, and oh, here goes another one, because that's the flavor of the past couple of years. Is if you can't monitor it, you can't manage it, and everybody's been heading that way. Regarding the product itself, I am cautiously optimistic about it, in that where I work, in the secret place that we shall not mention, and anyone in our vertical, for that matter, that is in secret places that we shall not mention, the word cloud scares a lot of people. So it will depend on how the platform works, if there's an on-prem version, if we can install it in concert with a different monitoring software that we may be able to do on-prem, that sort of thing. But in general, as a technology manager, I'm thrilled by the idea that I can have a single dashboard and look at all of my rooms in all of my buildings, in all of my campuses, and be able to see, hey, there's no batteries, or the batteries are dead on that mic. Send a tech or an IT guy or a facilities guy, admin, whoever, over with some AA's, and we're good to go. So from that regard, I'm really excited about it, and I hope we can find a way to make it work in my environment. But that may or may not be the case, and I will be talking to my show rep after this.
So I have heard some unsubstantiated rumors that they are already working on an on-prem version. Again, these are completely rumors. It may have just been wishful thinking, but I have heard that in the last 4 or 5 days since this was announced that they are already working on on-prem.
If anybody from Shure is watching, please take that into hand. A lot of us in a vertical or two can't do cloud, so please come out with that.
You can find her on all social platforms at AV Dawn and just reach out to her.
So my first question is, they're doing an on-prem version. Would it be ShureCloud? or is there
No,
going to be some
makes
other
sense.
branding there? Hey, I'm not a marketing person. I'm just thinking ahead. All right.
No.
If they use Sure Not Cloud, that's mine. They got to. So it's really, this is so funny because you sent this out, and then I actually had dinner with my Sure rep last night and had a really good discussion around this. And we were talking about one of the just kind of a perception perspective where Sure really is growing up as far as like the IT world is concerned, and I really feel like what they do when it comes to these integrated technology segments that we're kind of getting into when it comes to adding network ports to classically non-network enabled devices and bringing them into the IoT world. They're doing it right. Just looking at how things land, I've seen great success in that space. Now, rewind a little bit. Sure's first foray into this is when they threw a network jack on an old school analog mic receiver, and it was supposed to give telemetry and data out, right? And I mean, it was okay. Honestly, though, one of the things I think is valuable, and you touched on it, is kind of a forward-looking component of this, is the integrations with other ERP systems to help us understand what this data means. Right. Because I'll be honest, I have tons of platforms that I use. Let me rephrase that. I have tons of platforms that I have in my environment that give me telemetry on certain parts of my technical ecosystem, which is huge. Right. I have to know what's going on so I know what to fix it. Dawn made a fantastic point. If we know batteries are dead in this component in this room, I can dispatch workforce to go take care of it. Right. However, having a way to ingest that into my native ERP platform is going to be huge, because I don't have time to have 16 windows open on my display looking at alerts or combing through said alerts in the several thousands of emails I get per day. Right. So from my perspective, that's going to be the kicker for me, because I know for a fact, Sure, is going to land it in a space where API data and the pulls we get is going to be relevant, because again, it's their stuff. It's kind of important. And my brain's already spinning in ways I could use this, but if I can't efficiently digest it, it's not worth my time. So that's the one piece I'm going to be looking for, is how do I digest this in a more efficient manner and then automate those workflows so I'm more able to, like, as Dawn mentioned, define problems and ensure my workforce can address said problems. So I will lean towards cautiously optimistic as well. That is, I will follow on Dawn's verbiage on that one, and I will cross fingers and toes that Sure does some good stuff on this one.
And folks watching from Shure, that's build an on-prem version and play nice with others. We'll keep a list for you.
Yeah, well, that's too, because for me, honestly, I can go either way. We have fantastic data center resources. We also have a cloud component. I'm really enjoying the cloud component because it means that my team doesn't have to manage servers and whatnot. Your space is a little bit different, obviously, but I can go either way when it comes to cloud or on-prem. But the ERP thing for me, that's point number 2. It's got to be there, because if not, then it's just more noise. And like a car alarm, after a while, you just ignore it. So
yeah. Jason, I'm going to get your 2 cents on this as well, and point out that all 3 of these fine folks work for multinational corporations, and they have installations not just in their backyard, but as Justin said, he gets thousands upon thousands of emails a day. Some of those are alert from these multiple, maintenance platforms. So, Jason, just a first blush, what do we think about ShureCloud?
I'm kind of on the same boat as the other two. It's exciting. It's nice to have dashboard capabilities on some of those products. But yeah, definitely going to depend on how they play with others. Would I love to see my Shure equipment in a dashboard in one place? Obviously, but am I going to have time to go check it every hour and a half, 2 hours to make sure batteries aren't dying or microphones are having issues? Probably not. So yeah, definitely going to look at integrations. What can it integrate with? What can it talk to? Something that we already have, maybe that sends alerts for us. We are a staff of 2 that handle most of the AVUC for the company. So neither one of us is paying real close attention to a dashboard throughout the day. We're handling other stuff as it pops up. We're helping out other teams. So definitely exciting, but cautiously optimistic, as the other 2 have said.
Let me ask you like a really point blank on that one, Jason, because again, 100 years ago when I was a tech manager, we were a staff of 2 as well. I didn't have the number of offices you do, though. What would you prefer? Like, what is your best case? Because if something is like, I understand you guys all 3 mentioned batteries being dead in a mic, right? is there a level here of, okay, batteries are dead. It's not DEFCON 10, right? It's 8 because maybe you've got a couple different mics in there. I don't know, but is there a level here of, you better send me a text and an email and call my mom when this happens, and don't bother me down here? And how do you communicate that, Jason?
I mean, it's options need to be available in the dashboard. I should be able to set the priority of the alerts that I want to get.
Right.
I should be able to set a high priority alert that comes for a battery being dead. I should be able to set a low priority alert for, batteries low, or something along those lines. Microphone missing, not found, different story. I should emergency call my mom,
Yeah.
But same way other platforms have rolled out their tile-style devices, some have controls around the alerts you get where you can set prioritization. Some are just, you're going to get an alert and it's going to just be an alert and you have to deal with it and the noise that comes along with it. So definitely prioritization is a key thing.
And to add on to that, I would say that Shure, to be brutally honest, can invest probably like 10, 20% of effort in that native to their platform. But again, if they ingest that into a native ERP system already, your ITIL customers have already defined what those look like, and they can triage those against their existing alerts. And it's no lift to Shure at that point in time. It's just data, right? It's just data into the bucket, and the bucket decides where it goes. So that's why it's critical to have those kind of things, because then, to Jason's point, he's not having to go through and tell, okay, microphone battery's dead is X level. I can then assign a triage level to it inside my system, and then it pulls the data in and lets the ERP take care of that for you, right? At that point in time, Shure just becomes a data broker. They're no longer having to do the lift of everything else. Now, will there be people that need it in the Shure system? Absolutely. I mean, that's why it's going to be there. Yeah. But if you're looking from an enterprise perspective, you have the ability to capitalize with all of the work that's already been done and leverage that as a path forward.
One last thought. You don't know, Tim, in some verticals, in some industries, and in some regions of the world, no batteries in a microphone really could be DEFCON 10. You don't know what those spaces are being used for, where they're being used, and how they're being used. So even something as dumb as some missing batteries could have significant impact in some fields.
Next story comes to us from Rave Pubs. Flatfrog has announced its in-room AI sensing technology, powering the innovative Ricoh gesture pointer feature in Ricoh's latest AI camera and collaboration board series. This technology allows meeting participants to interact with content on the board simply by pointing and eliminating the need for physical touch. The AI-driven system is designed to enhance engagement for both in-room and remote attendees, ensuring everyone can visualize pointing gestures. You can also use Flatfrog's pens to interact and write on the screen. Currently, the Ricoh collaboration board W5500, W6500, and W7500 models featuring this technology are available exclusively in the Japanese market, but they are expected to be available globally in 2025. Now, here is the thing that caught me. Good Lord. 12 years? Anyhow. AVWeek episode 2. Episode 2. We are on episode 684. So it's been a minute since this happened. But episode 2, the title of that episode is I Am Not a Gesture. My dear old friend George Tucker famously complained about gestures and controls. Watts, I'm going to start with you on this. What do we think? Are gesture controls making a comeback here?
They never took off, so they're like,
okay.
But hey, you put me first, all right? This
did.
was your decision.
It was my fault.
Look, okay, I get it. Everyone's looking for that next thing from an innovative perspective to revolutionize control in a conference room, right? It's gone from gestures, it went to voice controls for a hot minute, and I think some people that work at the Amazons still use that. I'm not sure how that goes there. I have to ask my buddy who still works there. Y'all, we are overcomplicating a component that does not need to be any more overcomplicated, right? You're talking about gestures. I totally get it. That's supposed to be the intuitive component, air quotes, of what we do, right? Human automation at its finest. I can use natural gestures to control the meeting. But you're still having to translate those quote unquote natural gestures into an efficient action that can be reproduced every single time by every single customer that works in that conference room or space, wherever it is, right? The number of variables that you have to attend with when it comes to a reproducible, efficient service you're going to deliver to your customers is already astronomical when it comes to that, right? Because it talks about installation of the room and components and audio quality and acoustics and all of the things that go into building a conference room. We're now going to add a more complicated layer of a gesture, right? Y'all, come on. There's way more fun things maybe you can do with innovation in conference rooms than doing the finger pointing thing, right? Also, a couple of things to point out. They're using a finger pointing gesture there. Did you know the finger pointing gesture is seen as rude in some cultures and is actually not something you want to do in public, right? Two fingers, me, the knife hand gets me where I need to go, right? Now, having said that, on top of all that, calibration has got to be a thing for this system. How often do I have to go back and retouch this thing to ensure that it's calibrated to do these things? What's ambient light levels have to be at to ensure the contrast is such that it actually adapts and sees the gesture coming into the room? The only gesture control I ever liked back in the day, I don't know if you recall it or not, but in 2013, they released a product that was released that you could wave your hand over a pad and it would advance slides in a conference room. Right.
Okay.
What that did was it distilled that use case down to a smaller number of variables and thereby made it something that was effective to use. Right. You could actually use it without having a clicker in your hand. You could just kind of wave over and it would advance the slide. But it only did 3 things. It's in a slide forward, it's in a slide back, and if you held your hand over it, it blanked the slide. Seriously distill it into an operable use case. I just don't see where this is going. Right. And if you're talking about it from trying to provide equity for all in a conference room, what if someone can't make the gesture? I mean, I know people who, through my time in work, I've worked with tons of people who are brilliant and they have adapted to where they are in the environment due to, something that may have occurred in their past that have made it to where they're differently able than we are now.
Yep.
Right. I know people who can't point. What are we going to do? I mean, there's still some on there, but is there adaptation to account for stuff like ADA and being able to accommodate for all, or what? This just seems like an extremely limiting product that may have some uses for certain use cases. I'm not sold.
All right. Jason, same kind of question. What do we think about the gestures?
I have a love-hate relationship with AI gesture control style things. Do they have their place? Sure. Are they pretty niche in what they can do? Definitely. Something like Justin said, there's going to be cases where they're just not able to be leveraged. I also have an issue with AI doesn't get it right all the time. Apple's reactions that they added to their cameras a while back, that they enabled by default without telling anybody in a software upgrade. We have a large meeting recording where AI interpreted the scene wrong and put a smiley face on the screen when it was not a happy moment. Thankfully, it only went out to the recording, but still kind of caught us off guard. We're like, what was that? Had to go chase down and figure out what just happened and where that came from. And AI doesn't always get it right. So if you're doing gesture control, how defined does that gesture have to be for it to pick it up correctly? And how much margin of error is there? Is somebody going to end up in a meeting fighting with this thing more than they're benefiting from its use, assuming the feature isn't also enabled some other way, like touch override or something? But if gesture is supposed to make life easier, am I really going to end up fighting with this more than I'm going to actually be able to use it during my meeting?
All right, Dawn, just generically, what do we think of gesture as control?
Again, mixed feelings. 12 years ago, George was concerned about being distilled in nothing but a gesture. I understand where they're coming from. In a post-COVID world, particularly, it's easier to not touch things and make them work than to touch them and try to clean them or make them bio-safe or what have you. That said, both Jason and Justin were 100% correct. My first thought on this is, how sensitive is the IR and the camera that's capturing these gestures? I'm picturing Dottie and Jimmy on A League of Their Own, both of them doing different signs and having the computer be the picture. Like, what am I even doing? Something like that. To Justin's point, not everybody has the same ability to gesture with open palm or the Disney point with two fingers, what have you. Not everybody can do those things. And even if everybody can do those things and all things being equal, every time you idiot proof a room, they build a better idiot. And this is proven again and again and again. Even if you give them a simple guide of push this button that says push to start and your system will start, somebody will mess it up. And by having them have to come up with a set series of gestures that everybody does the same, I see it go in the way of the Palm Pilot. We all had to learn how to do the Palm Scribble shorthand thing. Like 4 people learned it and the rest of us were like, it's not worth it. So
I learned it. It was fantastic, and I missed my Palm Pilot. I said it.
But you know what I'm saying? It's
Just like there's no crying in baseball, there's no gestures in conference rooms.
yes, exactly.
Trademarked, right, Justin?
Hashtag.
Trademark that one too.
That's 2. That's 2.
All right, well, I'll give you one more story, see if you can trademark this one. Panasonic Connect has announced plans to expand NDI support across its lineup of 4K integrated cameras and its AGCX350 memory card camera recorder. This development is set to roll out between December 2024 and April 2025 and marks a major shift towards IP-based video production workflows. The upgrade will be available through a free firmware update and will enable seamless integration of Panasonic's devices into NDI-enabled systems. Daniel Nergard, president of NDI, hailed the collaboration as a milestone in expanding the NDI ecosystem. Jason, we'll start with you on this. NDI is 100%. It is production forward, right? It is. If you're in broadcast, you not most likely have some use of NDI somewhere. But I'm going to take a little corner here and take that and plop it in the middle of the AV over IP conversation. Where does NDI belong in Pro AV, in the Pro AV, AV over IP conversation?
I mean, I think it belongs there. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. We leverage a few NDI pieces, for town hall style meetings and stuff. A couple cameras for recording, and it works well. I mean, the whole AV industry itself is shifting to an over IP style, so there's going to have to be tested and true protocols that are out there to help assist with that transition. Why run cabling when I can run a single network line that'll help me get my NDI signals and whatever else I need, simplify installations. So I believe it's definitely has its place among the lineup. Are there other things that can do it well? I'm sure. Will there other things come out in the future? Of course. Technology is always advancing. Everything's always changing, which makes this industry so much fun. But definitely, it's nice to see Panasonic coming around and adding that. I mean, for those who have Panasonic equipment in their environment and can leverage it, fantastic. I think it's going to be a move in the right direction.
All right. Dawn, same question. Where does NDI belong in Pro AV?
It absolutely belongs in Pro AV, definitely in the broadcast space, in some of the professional level video editing, like Hollywood type stuff, or, wherever you have these big productions. But for the average company, it kind of doesn't. Unless you have a group that's dedicated to this really high-end production stuff. I mean, I've been with my multinational for about 8 years now. And in that time, I cannot name a single instance where we put in a camera that either wasn't HDMI, IP, or USB. So for the needs of a company like ours or a regular corporation, it's nice to have, and I would never tell a company to get rid of a feature. It's always better to add features so that you will be able to take more of the market share. But I think in Pro AV, unless you're talking to the pro broadcast market, it's going to be more of a limited niche product, but we want that product in there just in case. It's a back pocket, it's in my back pocket, but when I need it, I got it right there.
All right, Mr. Watts, you'll have the last word on this. Where does NDI belong?
It belongs on a well-curated network to support it, because that's the biggest difference you're going to see when it comes to doing this in broadcast versus when you see it in the wild and Pro AV.
Yeah.
I have no problem with NDI. To Jason's point, it's flexible. I can drop a single PoE plus or PoE plus plus, depending upon the camera range, port somewhere and have camera feed. Amazing. To Don's point, we do have to ensure that in our environment, reliability is king. Being able to have a source that I trust is important, right? But also, when we look at it, I mean, NDI is kind of that, just like a bridge in between SMPTE 2110 and your hardline cable you use to bring cameras into an environment. NDI does not support precision time protocol. It does not support raw unpacketized data. It is a communication standard that is transmitted over the network. So it all points back to ensuring that if you're going to deploy this, that it's done on a network that can support it. And that's the one thing I always see being the hiccup, right? We throw a camera, or even, in the cases of like vMix or OBS, you're using NDI to grab sources from other devices and bring them into the environment. Everyone, it's fantastic. We can grab this MacBook Pro, the output over here, and throw it into this video stream using an NDI channel. That's amazing. Until your camera fires up, who's also on the network and is transmitting data, and you start doing control commands over the network depending upon how bloated your software is. Oh, and by the way, I'm also streaming music that goes onto this as well, and we're streaming video out. As soon as you start hitting the upper limits of that, NDI can be not as reliable as the old school, as Don mentioned, a USB or an HDMI or even an HDSDI. Let's throw it all the way back if we're going to do it. I think it has its place, and I'm truly interested to see where it goes. Yeah. But also, I think, again, this is a driver for us as an industry to have to grow up and understand things like network protocols and how they interact with our devices before we just start speccing this in the environment to see what happens. I mean, it's a fantastic step forward, and I think it's huge. But before we start throwing darts in the dark, hoping to hit the bullseye, let's look at the entire picture and ensure we're designing a holistic system that's going to meet user requirements. If that's NDI, fantastic. In some cases, you just removed a barrier to entry to some people because they may not be able to get power where this camera is supposed to go. Or, now they can have a centralized control center or a centralized video ingest platform on one floor and grab cameras from across 6, 7, 8, 50, take your pick, right? Depending on what's going on. But if we're going to use it in Pro AV, we have to take a step back like we've done with everything. AV over IP, SDVOE, even way back like CobraNet, when we started, engaging that kind of stuff, and look at it holistically before we start throwing stuff on the network like that. I think it's great. And Panasonic really has been leaning on this for some time, and they've been doing some good stuff in this space. I'd love to see how it works, but I'd also love to see how it works on my network, because we have so much stuff on my network now. I'm pretty sure I'd break something, or I'd really upset a network admin, which I do anyway. So that's
I was going to say you probably do that just on a.
Yeah, I walk in the building and they're like, they have you guys back.
Watts is here. Oh, great. Oh, look at the time. I've got to go on my break now. All right. Thanks, guys, so much. Dawn Mead, AV Dawn, how do people connect with you?
As usual, you can find me online everywhere on the socials, AV Dawn or Dawn Mead. And if you happen to be in the Mid-Atlantic, DC, MD, Northern Virginia area, drop me a line. I'm always around.
All right. Thanks so much. Mr. Justin Watts, how do people connect with you if they are so inclined, sir?
If they're the Dinsians of the interwebs want to find me, I'm available on the Twitters, the Face Spaces, LinkedIn, and I think MySpace is still there, at Paladin Machina. And my company website is amd.com.
All right, very good. Mr. Haney, thank you, sir. Fantastic having you on. How do people connect with you or Q2 if they are so inclined?
Thank you. I'm on LinkedIn, easiest way, Jason Haney. Or Q2's website is www.q2.com. So.
Very good. My name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me anywhere. If you're interested in my writings, I am writing more on LinkedIn. That would be the best place. Don't follow me on Twitter because I will just complain about the Chicago Bears. But if you would, please go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others, including a brand spanking new Women in AV called The Magic of Technology with Judy Salazar. You can check that out on our website. Also, I am speaking at Church Facilities Expo October 22nd. You can find out more about that at churchfacilitiesexpo.com. If you are listening to this podcast and you want to see these fine human beings, you can go to find the video on YouTube. If you're watching this and you already know what we look like, but you're tired of looking at us, you can subscribe to the AVWeek podcast wherever you get your podcasts. So thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AVWeek.
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AV Nation.